Hi, I am Robert Fullerton. Welcome to CFO Corner. Today's topic is due diligence for startup entities. Failure to conduct proper due diligence is the main reason that so many businesses fail. If you are a Christian entrepreneur, a kingdom business, you need to consider this carefully. Let's see how this happens in the real world and what we can do to prevent it by considering the cautionary tale of the banana pudding lady. The Banana Pudding Lady, a cautionary tale about business due diligence. So about 8 years ago, I was invited to take part in a symposium for small businesses in downtown Miami. This event connected startup businesses with experienced professionals for mentoring sessions. Sitting at my table was the procurement manager at Delta Airlines, along with 7 or 8 new entrepreneurs. Participants took turns presenting their business ideas to us for development insights from the panel. One presentation was by a lady who started a business selling banana pudding cups. She deliberately chose to sit at our table to meet the Delta Airlines executive. This lady opened a basket and took out a number of cups of pudding in extremely attractive, very classy packaging and offered us a sample. Her presentation was outstanding. She indicated that this was a very secret recipe which took a long time to perfect. She had tested it in small shops in her community and the response was overwhelmingly positive. She invested about $20,000 of her savings, bought ingredients, packaging materials, cooking utensils, hired staff, and signed a lease to rent space in a commercial kitchen to produce her output. She indicated that at current scale of operations, she could produce about 1,000 cups of pudding a week and invited us to do a taste test. Now, I am not a fan of banana pudding, but I must say that this was the best that I have had. The Delta Airlines executive was blown away. She gobbled up the first cup, licked her lips, and asked, "Is there any more?" The banana pudding lady beamed with pride. Then she made her big sales pitch. She wanted Delta Airlines to buy her pudding cups to offer as a treat to first-class passengers. She had pinned her hopes on ramping up her scale of operations by locking in a large customer like Delta. She even had dreams of franchising her business. However, from what I could glean, her cost structure on the existing scale of operations left no margins to cover her overheads. By my rough calculations, she would have to sell more than 3,000 items a week, 3 times the existing capacity just to break even. So here's the problem. Delta would not touch this with a 10-foot pole. Delta has more than 9,000 flights in the air per day. That's 63,000 flights a week. Most first-class cabins accommodate about 10 passengers. That is 630,000 passengers a week in total to serve. This lady was producing 1,000 items a week, a proverbial drop in the bucket. Large commercial airlines do not buy from small businesses for 2 main reasons: quality control risk and lack of economies of scale. In addition, the first-class cabin has only 1 toilet. She is selling banana pudding, an item that carries severe digestive risk. Think of what would happen if 10 passengers got sick on an aircraft at 30,000 feet in the air with 1 toilet to share. The reputational damage to Delta and the potential for lawsuits would be enormous. The Delta executive tried to let the banana pudding lady down gently, and she eventually left the symposium dejected, trying to figure out who else would be interested in buying the 3,000 items a week she needed to sell to break even, assuming she could produce that amount given her current capital and operational constraints. She had done no due diligence, no risk assessment, no financial projections, had no plan B, and it was more than likely she had lost a $20,000 investment in this venture. The moral of the story for the rest of us is this: look before you leap. If your business requires an investment of capital, that is either money or time, you must absolutely do basic due diligence before you make any significant commitment to starting up. In speaking to his disciples in Luke 14:28, Jesus told the parable of the tower. He asked, Which of you intending to build a tower would not first count the cost to see if he had enough money to finish it, lest after laying the foundation, you are not able to complete it and people mock you? This, in my view, is one of the best pieces of financial advice you can get from anyone, anywhere. Jesus was using a business principle of financial due diligence to teach a spiritual truth about the cost of discipleship. The people of his day listening to this parable were for the most part simple peasants with very little education. They did not have access to the business teaching available to us today, yet they got the point. None of them would be so foolish as to start a financial project or a business without counting the cost, yet today countless people, including Christians, start business projects without due diligence and suffer the consequences. As a follow-up to this presentation, I will be doing a PowerPoint presentation on due diligence for startups, and will give you both an explanation of what needs to be done and a checklist to help you work through the process. One last thing. There are two main types of business due diligence: startup due diligence and acquisition due diligence. I will be addressing startup due diligence in my presentations in this forum. Acquisition due diligence is an extremely complex project and occurs where an existing business is either acquiring or merging with another business or investing in a new project. As I said, acquisition due diligence is complex and beyond the scope of my teaching here. However, if any of you are involved in or contemplating an acquisition or merger and would like some basic guidance from someone who has experience doing this, please contact me. I will be happy to share some insights with you. So that's it, folks. Thank you for listening, and stay tuned to my follow-up PowerPoint presentation on startup due diligence. God bless. Take care.